couple of years down the road, um, you're hanging out. You went to this museum type thing where it's like it's both a toy museum and a toy store. It's a
Okay.
toy museum in the sense that it's showing like toys from your youth. You know what I mean? Like old
Classics.
yeah, old classics, the Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Street Sharks,
Street Sharks.
all the old school favorites.
All the wrestling figurines, man, get out. The ones that had the wire frames that would
Oh
stab
yeah.
you when you bent it too much.
Yeah. And like when you see them in the museum for just a second, it's almost like you can see the bite marks left on like the
Oh,
wrestler.
for sure. Yeah.
You kind of like blink, they're gone.
What?
So you're looking around and all of these toys are just like bringing back a lot of like unexpected memories, you know?
Am I crying in public?
No, you're not crying. You're just like kind of contemplative.
Okay.
Like you
I
look
can see that.
over, yeah, and you see a toy. It's a Spider-Man figurine that became famous because they made a mistake. They accidentally like put like a giant bulge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was so the reason they did it is it was a mess up. They meant to put so it was a regular size bulge for a larger, different Spider-Man
Okay.
figurine. So,
Yeah.
but they fucked up at the factory and they attached the larger bulge. So
Spider-Man 8.5.
if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Big hog.
So yeah, so it's kind of known on the internet as like the, big bulge Spidey. It was very quickly
Oh
recalled.
no.
And so you see that and you're like, oh man. And it just brings back, uh,
How much does it cost?
oh, so that's not for sale. That one's just like
Oh, that's a
on
museum. Okay,
display.
that's part of the museum part, not the.
Yeah.
So they have like a controversial
Yeah. And well,
fucking
there's no,
big
yeah.
bit Spider-Man toy
Well, it's
and like
because
and
it's
like a
part of history.
plaque.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
just part of history. You know what I mean? It's like
Okay.
this is an unusual thing. This is the topic we're interested in, and this is just like a crazy thing that happened. They have one on
Okay.
display. Um, it's it was supposed to be like a Frankenstein action figure, but and to this day, no one's quite sure how this happened. They fucked up, and instead of putting a Frankenstein head, it was just the head of Adolf Hitler. And
So
so
what?
yeah, so that was a
Just a
huge
Franken
mistake.
Hitler?
Yeah, those luckily were never actually put out for sale, but like a lot of them were stolen over the years. And so they were never actually for sale, but there's, secondhand, underground toy black markets that I'm sure you could get them from if you really wanted and if you had the pockets.
How much would it cost?
Oh man, so taking
I bet
into
one of them is
account,
probably very expensive.
yeah, yeah, it would be probably about $85,000.
Yeah, it's at the intersection of two people who are probably lonely, may not have a significant other, have a lot of extra cash lying around. That's probably a pretty solid Venn diagram,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. That's
I mean, look,
unfortunate.
toy collecting, ironically enough, is a big boys game. If it's put up or shut up, you know,
I
there's only
guess
one color that matters in the toy collecting game, and that color is green
like money.
or jewels.
Okay, some jewels.
You walk around the corner and you just like come to a complete and sudden stop because you are like almost in a state of shock when you see what's behind the glass in front of you. You actually come to a sudden stop so quickly and so suddenly that the person who's walking behind you, like they keep walking and they hit you and they kind of like bounce off and they go like, whoa, like flying away.
Flying away.
Yeah. And so yeah, because it's the level, it's not the level, but it's the part of the toy museum where the ground is like there's it's not a ground, it's just like trampoline. So you guys
You have
can
to
kind of like go like
trampolines to get through this toy museum of controversial figures, by the way. The two things you've made that you've mentioned so far have both been very controversial.
yeah, dude. Yeah, because so this is the trampolines were a thing that was introduced in the late 80s. There was like a trampoline craze
Praise.
in America. Yeah. Um Farrah Fawcett was the like the spokeswoman for them, and she had like a very famous commercial where she was like, "I'll go to bed with any man who has a trampoline," and then she winks. That was a commercial. And so trampoline
Jesus,
sales
Sarah.
went crazy. Yeah. And she's like, well, man, it was just a character I was playing, you know? But
Sure.
so to capitalize on, and then people figured out, you know what? Like trampolines kind of roll.
Yeah,
Also, there was money put into it by, and no one's ever able to prove this, but there was money put into the trampoline campaign, uh, like awareness campaign by like children's doctors
sure.
because they knew the trampolines would cause more injuries and more money for them. And
Oh, okay. I
they were
see.
right. Children's injuries went up, like they spiked that year for like probably about easily 125%.
Yeah,
So there are some children's doctors out there who got very rich off of this.
really. What a shame.
So to capitalize on this, there were some places, some homes that instead of having ground in certain sections, they had like trampolines, and so you could like bound around the house and stuff. There were some places where like even the walls were trampoline, and and so what happens is they have the trampoline on the ground that you're like kind of like going boing, like kind of like bouncing on, um,
Yeah,
and he like kind of like trips when he like hits you.
yeah.
He bounces off the ground and bounces off the top and kind of just like stays like bouncing there between the
It
two.
just keeps bouncing between the trampolines.
Yeah, eventually they're able to stop him, security is called and stuff, but you don't even notice because sitting right in front of you behind the glass
Yeah.
is a piece of your childhood that you had thought forgotten. So in Dupo when you were growing up, the big craze on the schoolyard, both before school, after school, sometimes during school, were pogs. Like there was
Oh,
a kid who was known as the Pog Prince because he was the top of his game back then.
POG,
Yeah. Um, this kid, his name is Ike Landers.
the Pog Prince.
Yeah, his parents were from Iceland, so he had like very like it's kind of interesting because he had like very like faint, not faint, but like the hair almost was like translucent, you know what I mean? But there was
Yeah.
so much of it. It was very like thick hair. At first you looked at it and you would you'd think like, "Oh, like, look at this kid's hair or whatever." But the closer you got, the thicker that fucking hair got.
Why do I have a weird relationship with this kid's hair?
It's just something that you'd notice. He's
The
a pog
Pog
prince.
Prince.
And you would hang out with the guys and look on and stuff and you guys kind of you didn't have a lot of pogs back then. So to make up for it, what you did is there was this really cheap knockoff version of Pogs called Pwogs, Pwags.
Man,
And so you played Pwogs. And Pwogs was this game where the Pogs, instead of being like circles or whatever, you know what I mean? They're all these like different shapes, like kind of misshapen, like clearly like someone fucked up or something. They're sort of like the
they're the scraps, the pog scraps.
Pog scraps, yeah. And so those are like these weird shaped things. And instead of using a slammer, you would just use like the one of those soda can tabs, you know?
What?
Yeah.
A soda can? How am I getting enough force on this thing to flip one of these guys?
Well, Pwogs were notoriously like light.
Oh, so it didn't take much.
No, it doesn't take much. And so
Still,
the only problem is that when on a windy day, it was really difficult to play Pwogs because the wind would just carry them all away.
this is awful.
Some of them, and like looking back on it, uh there are definitely some like weird, like some of the shapes were like some of the shapes you can still remember. And you do remember some nights, especially when it's like pouring rain outside and the thunder is clapping. You'll think of
What the
some of those
fuck are you
shapes.
talking about?
They're just, some of them just later on you looked it up and they're definitely like occult shapes and stuff like that, you know?
Blogs?
Yeah. Well, some of them, not all of them. And so right there in front of you are a bunch of pwogs. And you're like, holy shit. And you just like stand there for what feels like hours. Eventually it's time for them to close. The manager like, bounds over to you because he's on the trampolines and he's like, "Oh, sir, sorry, we're closing in 5 minutes, just so you know." And you're kind of like, "Oh," like you kind of snap out of it,
Yeah.
and you look at him, and like your lower lip starts trembling, and you're like, "How much?" And he goes, "Sir," and you go, "How much for those pwogs?" And he like looks at him, and he looks at you, and he goes, "For you, kid, $1."
Why am I getting back into this?
It's just like you're not getting back into this. It's mostly like it's just a piece of your childhood that like you kind of forgot about, except for right before you fall asleep at night. Sometimes you think of some of the shapes, the elder sign, the eye of Maurice.
I did not have a good childhood. Why would I want to buy these things that make me feel like I'm that age again? Why would I want to remember these haunting shapes that are blown away in the wind? Like, why the fuck would I do this?
To because it's a symbol. It's a symbol of you owning your past, you going, you know life was kind of strange at first, but I'm okay. I'm okay. That's what you say later on that day in the
Jesus
bathroom,
Christ. Yeah.
staring at like your reflection. So he's like, $1. And you're like, you can like reach into your pocket and like with a trembling hand, you pull out one like just totally wrinkled dollar bill that you found. He accepts it. He kind of like takes it between his like thumb and like pointer finger. You know what I mean? He's like, okay,
Yeah, it's like gingerly taking it.
yeah.
Ugh.
So like
Why?
like these, because it's all crumbled, like just looks really bad.
I wouldn't just hand somebody a crumbled dollar bill.
Also, someone wrote on the back of it on marker, "Fuck this shit."
That kind of
You're not really certain what in reference to what, but so you get the plogs. They're really not worth much. He was telling you. He actually got him for 50 cents. So he's like, so think about this. I'm making quite the return on this investment. His eyes return to that like crumbled dollar bill, kind of like wrinkles his nose and just blatant disgust.
What an asshole.
Yeah. So you leave with the plogs. You walk outside. There's a gust of wind. They all go flying.
God damn it. This is exactly why I didn't want to buy these.
You go home, and one thing that is cool about the toy museum is that they have like a huge collection of just weird, different, like they'll give you stuff for free when you leave. So like a TV guide from like the year 1988, you know, an old Boy Scout magazine from, the 50s, stuff like that. Just like some random thing that they can't sell. They just have a lot of it. So like, yeah, we'll just give it away. That's like our thing.
Yeah. Here's a piece of trash. Take a piece of garbage when you go.
You got a like a old issue of a comic book.
Yeah. What comic?
Pencil Man, the superhero who defeats evil with pencils. And it didn't, you look it up later, it didn't really like last very long. There
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of compelling stories I
Why?
could tell.
Why wasn't he a pencil that fought bad guys? That's so much more interesting than a guy fighting bad guys with by using pencils.
So eventually he does turn into a giant pencil, but in the early issues, and a lot of people forget this about Pencil Man, in the early issues, he's a human being using pencils. And then about 3 or 4 issues in, that's when he turns into a pencil. And that's when the stories got like a little the guy who drew it while it was happening, he was going through like a just a soul crushing divorce, and so and you could tell in the issues, you could tell that he just did not give a fuck about this. So it's just like sure, whatever, like plot point that finishes this. So the stories weren't good. It didn't last longer than a year, and the issues aren't worth anything. That's how bad they are. Kind of like the Pwogs. You think to yourself. So
Right.
you kind of like flip
Can the
through
wind
it.
blow that away too? Just blow this fucking Pencil Man comic book out of my hands?
You were a little paranoid about that actually, so you didn't wait to open it until you got back to your place. So you're sitting there and you're leafing through it, and it's from the year 1977. And you're just seeing like old ads and stuff like that
Sure.
from the time, just things like that. And you're like, oh, this is like kind of interesting, actually. It shows what was happening in the nation at that time, kind of through what, you know, ads there were, what people were consuming, things like that.
A lot of Burt Reynolds.
A lot of Burt Reynolds. You flip kind of towards the back, and did you ever read those like old comic books or magazines where in the back there's like a bunch of things that you can mail for, like send in the mail for things
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
wacky glasses or
Yeah, yeah.
this thing makes counterfeit dollar bills and like clearly it doesn't, things like that.
Yeah.
You open to that section of it, and it's just like the paper is like yellow. You're looking down, and you're looking down at all the different things that kids could buy back then. And you're like, just looking at the prices, and you're like, holy shit. Like one of them is like a bicycle for $3.
1977.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's like, and like the further down that the page goes, the more like kind of, intense the things you can right away for are. There's like one just says a deed to land, like write for more details, stuff like that. And you're looking at them and you're kind of marveling over, over some of them. And you look down and one of them just kind of like catches your eye. And it's an ad for a book. And it's called How to Make It Every Time with a Basketball.
Okay. How to make
And
it
it
every
says,
time.
and it says, we have a proven system showing that if you use our technique, read a book, use our technique, apply it to your game, you will make a shot every single time you shoot it. As long as you're not getting blocked. As long as you can get the ball in the air, you will make it.
This is what the ad says.
Yeah, and it says guaranteed, and it says good for 100 years. And then underneath it, it says their address, and it costs $3 or just one $2 bill. If you have a $2 bill, send that in. If you don't, it's $3. And it says an address and shit. And you kind of look down at it and you're like, good for 100 years, eh?
Yeah, it's crazy that it's been however many years and nobody's ever done this, right? It's almost as if this did what it said, it would have come out by now. Man,
Yeah,
but
and you just got,
it's really crazy that nobody has taken this offer up before.
and that's what you're thinking as you look down, and you kind of like chuckle to yourself and you walk away. You sit down and you fire up a fat fucking joint.
Now we're talking.
The familiar yet exciting aroma fills your nose,
Yeah.
and within minutes, brother, you are feeling no pain. You sit down, like you're like, oh, you watch a movie. Um, you
What movie?
watch, uh, it's a new version of Tarzan that just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing like a Tarzan reboot.
Who's in it? Who's Tarzan?
Chris Pratt,
Yeah, of course it is.
but he bulks the fuck up for it.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Tarzan loved Jesus.
So you watch that, and later on, like you kind of pause it in the middle of it, and you're like, I'm gonna get something to eat. You walk into the kitchen, you look down, and you see like the open comic book, and you look at it and you go, man, fuck it. You fill out like you cut it out and you write to like the thing, and you put in. You don't have any $2 bills, and you turned your house upside down
Oh,
trying to find one,
I would not do
and
that.
you put
Why the fuck
three.
would I think there's just a $2 bill hanging out somewhere in my house that I have to find?
You're
I'm
like,
just
well,
gonna give up after 1 minute and add a third dollar bill to it.
so you put three crumpled up bills into that
I'm not
fucking
gonna
envelope.
crumple them up. I'm not that kind of person. I worked retail for so long that like
What?
I'm not gonna give somebody a crumpled up dollar bill.
Well, they're already crumpled up.
Yeah, I'm gonna straighten them out. I'm gonna lay them on top of each other and I'm gonna put them in there along with whatever the paper is.
So you smooth them all out, and you smooth them out for like several minutes actually until they look pretty good. You slip them into the envelope. And as soon as you take your hand off, they kind of go like and like back to being crumbled again. And you're
Are you
like, fuck
fucking
it.
kidding me?
So you
What a rude thing to do.
so you send it in, and you kind of go about your evening. Um, After you finish the movie, you fall asleep watching reruns of
Chunks.
Chunks. Um, and the one that they're doing as you fall asleep is they take so you know how there's like you know that painting like the screamer of that guy on the
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and he's like going like ah. Well,
yeah.
there's several versions of that. Like there's some that are like smaller. That I don't know who the artist is, but like that's like the main painting, but there's like multiple different sketches of it that he did over the
Is that
years, and
Munch?
maybe. And so they take one of the like the smaller versions and
Yeah,
they cover it, they freeze it, they encase it in ice, and then they pour hot sauce on it, and they get a bulldozer, like not a bulldozer, but one of those like things that is a wrecking ball or whatever, and they just
yeah.
like drop it on it and destroy it, and they're like chunks. So
Chunks. Why do they pour hot sauce on it?
just what they do.
All
So
right.
you fall asleep finally on the couch. You dream of a howling void. You wake up the next day and you like open the front door because you hear like a thump, like something like thumped against it. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And you open the door and it's that book, How to Make It Every Time. And it is it's not that big of a book, but it is very like when you pick it up, it feels almost like you're handling like a medieval text, you know, like the
Yeah.
original, you know, Gutenberg Bible or whatever it's called. It like feels old, and
Important.
the cover and the front and the back cover and the binding really, yeah, it feels important. Feels solid, you know.
Heavier than it looks.
Yeah,
Okay.
like it wants you to know it's there.
All right.
So you open it up and it says how to make it every time. And it gives you just a few exercises to do. It has you do like you have to do a total of 19 push-ups over a 24-hour period.
Okay.
You then have to like flex really, really intensely, you know.
Okay.
Mirror optional. Do that for 7 minutes. And then
7 minutes of flexing.
yeah. And then go for a light jog. But also the whole time that you're doing this, you're saying under your breath, um, I will serve. I will serve. I will
All right.
serve.
That's where it gets weird. I will serve.
Yeah, you have to like you have to kind of you just like mutter it under your breath. They're like we it's a mantra and it's about serving ultimately yourself because we're so used to serving others, but you really need to look at the self. You need to serve yourself.
I wouldn't say it like that.
Would you do the exercises?
I don't give a shit about being able to shoot a basketball.
But you're kind of like, you know, you're kind of invested at this point, you know?
I spent three crumpled dollars on this.
But you're curious about what's going to happen, you know? Do you do it?
I really don't think the desire to be able to shoot a basketball like this
Yeah.
would get me out of the house to do a light jog. How am I what is this gonna do for me?
You can make it
I'm
every
not like
time.
I'm not like a I'm not like a guy who plays basketball with people.
No, not
I'm not
really.
like, not there's no not really about it. This is not at all. I haven't played basketball and I don't know how long. But
And you
like
gotta think you think that to yourself as like you're looking down at the instructions. Like I haven't played this game in forever. And you go, how badly do I want to make it every time?
so I have to do what 19 over the course of a day, I have to do 19 push-ups I have to flex for 7 minutes and go for a light jog. I have to do that every day.
No, you do it one time while
Oh,
muttering,
but
I
I
will
have to
serve, I
do
will serve, I will serve.
all of that within a 24-hour period.
Yeah.
19 push-ups, 7 minutes of flex. What constitutes the light jog? How long?
Dealer's choice.
Oh, then fuck yeah. That's the worst part of this whole thing.
Yeah. Like they keep it like it's very sparsely written. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of
Yeah.
explanation to it, you know?
Yeah.
Do you do it?
Then
Well,
yeah, if I have to do that. I have to do those three things one time in 24 hours, and then I will, while muttering, I will serve, and then I will make it every time.
yeah.
Then yeah, fine, I do that.
So you do it over the course of the day. What you do is you just knock out like five at a time over the course of like 10 minutes,
No,
you
I
know?
wouldn't. I would just do them all at once. I'd
You
just
try
do
to
them
do that.
all at once.
You
No, there's
try to do
no. Come
that, but
on.
after five, you're just so winded that you're like, oh, okay, just give it a sec.
Oh
So
no,
you
that's
you
not.
knock them all out. You get it all done. You put on a podcast and you just flex for 7 minutes, just kill time. And then you go outside and just go for kind of a light jog, around the neighborhood.
I'm gonna make that jog as short as possible.
A few of the neighbors like look up and they're like, not like they're scared to see you, but they're definitely surprised. They're like,
I'm not even going that far.
you
I'm not even
hear,
going that. I'm going as
you see,
short as
you see,
possible.
like across the street, one of them, like there's like a
Come
mom and
on,
her
shut
daughter,
the
and
fuck
she
up.
and she he whispers something to her, and the daughter just laughs.
Shut up. Come on. This is why I don't do that.
So you go back inside, you close the door, and you're like, all right. And the whole time you were muttering, I will serve, I will serve. But you notice kind of towards the end that like you had started saying it like even like more scarier as you went on, like more scary. So you start off just going like, I will serve, I will serve. Then by the end you're like, I will serve, I will serve, I will serve. You're like, you almost sound like Gollum or something, but like whispering.
Great. I just
A
want to make it
bas
every time.
a basketball comes like rolling out of a dark hallway in your house towards you, and it stops right at your feet.
This fucking sucks.
You pick it up, you go outside, and there's like a basketball court, about like a 3 minute walk from where you live. So you head towards there, ball in hand. You get to the court. You dribble a few times, and just to get like used to handling the ball, I guess.
Sure.
Where would you shoot it from first? There's no one there.
I'm going right to the top of the key, baby.
You walk to the very tippy top of that key. You like, steady yourself. You shoot the ball. It arcs through that Los Angeles sky like a comet on fire, and it swishes through that goddamn hoop. Almost like the hoop was welcoming it. And like when it went through, like you could swear you heard like a oh.
Yeah,
So the rest of the afternoon, you
that's gross.
you shoot the ball and you make it every single time. Eventually, like a crowd starts forming around, and like you almost don't notice because you are just hitting shot after shot after shot after shot, and people are like, "Oh man, like this guy, he's hit like I swear, like 600 in a row,
And I'm hitting from everywhere.
all over the court."
At some point, I'm probably calling somebody out and I'm trying to try to make some money on this.
Yep. And you're kind
So
of like,
I will
you're,
bet Stephen Curry.
so you turn to the kid who said that. He said, I swear he's made 600 in a row. And you go, nah, kid, 665. You turn and you just like do a sky hook and it
Yeah.
swishes through the hoop for your 666th
God damn it, Pat.
shot in a row. The ground opens up and
What the fuck?
like
Come
suddenly the
on.
playground is turned into like just like a forest of flame, you know what I mean? And a bunch of demons
Jesus
like crawl out
Christ.
of the abyss, and you hear and they're all saying, "Thank you, Aaron," as they just rip
Fuck
apart the
off.
crowd that was there. You and you kind of like look over, and like a bunch of demons like stand in front of you, and you go, don't hurt me," and they go, "Hurt you, Aaron? We love you. You set us free." And then they set you on fire anyway, and you
God
fall.
damn. This fucking sucks. I just wanted to make it every time. I
And you
didn't even really
did.
want it.
And it opened up a portal to hell. And
Nowhere did it tell me I had 666 shots to make this. Nowhere
well,
did
you
it
just
say
kept
that.
going. You were on fire, dude.
Yeah,
You kept track of
literally.
you kept track of every single shot. It
This
just didn't really
sucks.
occur to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fucking sucked.